In Garissa's FAFI constituency, some KANU leaders said Raila's ideas on expanding devolution would cost the nation dearly because they require a referendum. Meanwhile, speaking at the same event during the Thanksgiving ceremony for FAFI Member of Parliament Abdi Karim Osman, KANU leader Gideon Moi took to console victims of the floodings in various parts of Kenya, saying something must be done to assist them.
Katiba ni yetu, hii katiba ni ya Kenya. Tukisema tunabadilisha, tunabadilisha. Tukisema tunabadilisha left, tunaenda hivyo.
Sisi hatukubaliani na hiyo siasa ya kuleta 14 region. Sisi tunafurahia devolution, hasa sisi ambaye tumetoka sehemu kama Garissa, kama Isiolo, kama Mandera na sehemu nyingine. Tunafurahia devolution kwa sababu imeleta serikali nyumbani.
There's been flash floods here. Watu wamepoteza mfugo, watu wamepoteza mali zao, manyumba, mashamba, mimea. Na ndio hiyo tunaeleza serikali, tunasema tafadhali kujeni kwa haraka kusaidia wananchi wetu.
Security officials Saturday nabbed a consignment of 80,000 Mandrax capsules at Eldoret International Airport. The recovery of illicit Mandrax drugs, which was concealed as capsules written as a joint fix, was made following a multi-agency operation that saw 4 people arrested. The owner of the consignment was also arrested in Nairobi and is in custody assisting in investigations. Mandrax is usually sold in form of a tablet and highly addictive across the world.
Enough for you to get the way it is. Of all the cameras.
We are here following what has been transpiring over 1.5 weeks now. On the 16th of April, a consignment was impounded here. Following its suspicious nature. We have a multi-agency committee comprising of about 15 government agencies who operate together during verification of any cargo coming in through the airport. And during that verification on the 16th of April, this suspicious contraband was flagged out. The officers further brought in a sniffer dog, which also kind of confirmed what they had suspected. But that was not enough. On the 17th, a sample was picked and taken to the government chemist. For about 6 or 7 days, the officers have been waiting for those results from government chemist. In the meantime, this cargo had been taken into a strong room to await for those results. Now, those results came back on the 26th, and the results showed they were positive for Mandrax.
16 fish processing factories operating along the shores of Lake Victoria have collapsed in the last 18 years, destroying livelihoods and leaving fishmongers exposed. The effects cascade down to an item loved by locals but little known outside the lake belt. Here's the story of the mungo fish, a wazi fish, with Kevin Ogutu.
Kambuta Market in Obunga, a slum neighborhood in Kisumu, is a busy place. This is where remnants from the 2 fish processing factories in the lakeside city are processed. Whether it is fish skin or the frame left after filleting, Kambuta is the place to be. The fish remnants make what is known as mgongowazi in this area. Rael Owuor has been in this Mgongowazi business for 15 years, having started as a casual laborer for those already established in the business.
Sasa tuko group 3. Sasa yetu inaitwa dry fish. Sasa ukikuja hao ndio wanakupatia nafasi kidogo ya kufanya kazi.
Empty stalls now meet the eyes of those who come here. But just 10 years ago, the wooden rails would all be lined with the fish.
Unajua makambi ilikuwa mingi, sasa tulikuwa tunapata samaki kwa urahisi. Na vile samaki ilikuwa kidogo, bei ikakuwa juu.
There are only 2 fish processing factories in Kisumu operating right now, and for this reason the women here who depend on the products from the factories to process the fish here cannot get the required amount every day. Remjius Odhiambo, a father of 1, has been in this business for 7 years now. He earns 50 shillings for every sack he cuts. It is a job he says has comfortably supported his young family.
In a week, nimepata 500, maybe 2 or 3 days.
But while he wishes the closed factories will come back to life, Mgongowazi enthusiasts have this to say.
Hiyo iko na appetizer. Hata kama ujisikii kukula, ukipata hiyo unakula.
Nikikula nasikia kama iko mzuri. Tena supu yake huwa nikikunywa nasikia kama inanisaidia na inanipatia nguvu. Hata nikifanya kazi, naona kazi inakuwa sawa.
In the last 18 years, the fish factories relying on Lake Victoria as a source of fish reduced to 2 from the previous 18 in the year 2000. Of the factories that closed down, 10 closed due to lack of adequate fish for processing. But at Obunga, the women in Mgongowazi business have long adjusted to their current predicament of fish shortage. And now she has a totally different appeal to the county government.
Chenye wanaweza kusaidia sisi nayo ni kujenga. Kwa maana penye tunafanyia hizi sio manyumba, ni mabati yenye imewekwa tu. Saa ile mvua inanyesha, inatiririka maji kwa mafuta, unaweza chomeka. Hata vile ilijengwa hivi hakuna style, unasikianga saa ingine kidogo tunachomeka.
The fish processors and exporters are now calling upon the government to put in adequate resources for management of fisheries, as this will bring to an end illegal fishing. Kevin Ogutu, KTN News.
Now, Kenya is one among a majority of countries where women have a high chance of dying from pregnancy-related complications. However, following new interventions by the National Health Insurance Fund, women, especially in the rural areas, have it now easier. Raquel Mugai reports.
Like any other African country, Kenya still grapples with the maternal mortality burden, with the majority of the cases being recorded in the rural areas. The financial gap is among the top factors hindering women from accessing quality maternal health care. When 17-year-old Anadis Wamboi found out she was pregnant, her mother Irene Hinga could not figure out how to raise the funds for delivery fees.
Venye nilijua venye yako nilisumbuka kwa akili sana, nikashindwa venye nitapata hiyo pesa ya kumsaidia kujifungua.
Nilikuwa so worried, tutatoa pesa wapi? Yeah. Then najua bado tuko na mtu yako shule. So like nilikuwa na stress sasa vile ata handle both nini conditions.
Irene depends on manual jobs to cater for Anadis and her 8-year-old brother, who now stay with their grandparents. And to help share the burden with her mother, Anadis decided to look for a job in Nairobi.
Nilikuwa na a friend there, so babake ndiye alikuwa mwenye hoteli. So like nikaenda akanitafutia huko.
Earning just a mere 5,000 shillings in the city while working as a cashier in a local hotel, the amount could only do so much for Anadis. She went 6 months without the fundamental antenatal care, a scenario that is all too familiar with hundreds of other young women like her in rural Kenya. Fortunately, when the time was due, it was a sigh of relief for Irene and her daughter Anadis following the introduction of the Linda Mama program in the counties, which covered the cost of delivery for all mothers.
Venye nilifika huko kwa hospitali, wakanielezea venye tunaweza saidiana na NHIF. Wakaniitisha ID na birth certificate ya Anadis, nikatoa photocopy, nikawaachia. Sasa nikasaidika na njia hiyo kwa sababu sikutoa hata shilingi. Alikaa huko for 5 days na sikutoa hata dururu.
The program Linda Mama Boresha Jamii is meant to provide cover for mothers for 4 visits of antenatal care, normal and cesarean section delivery and postnatal care for up to 1 year under the National Health Insurance Fund. According to a report released by the Health Ministry, about 1.6 million women give birth every year, with 1 million delivering in public hospitals and 200,000 in private hospitals. The report revealed that about 400,000 women give birth under unprofessional care, leading to high maternal mortality. But with such advancements in the maternal healthcare sector and with NHIF's Linda Mama program, even the most vulnerable mothers like Anadis can deliver healthy babies comfortably. Raquel Mwigai, KTN News.
Have you asked for a cough syrup over the counter for that troublesome cough you've had? That syrup may have contained codeine, a narcotic drug with a high potential for addiction. Young people in Kenya have discovered this and have found a way of using it for recreational rather than medical purposes. As Dr. Masikuri reports, this is a dangerous emerging trend. Here's Dr. Masikuri with today's story and our continuing series on phase 2 of the crackdown on drugs and alcohol abuse.
Kuria, not his real name, has been using codeine-based cough syrups for at least 2 years to get high.
It starts with being open-minded. It starts with looking into the bigger picture of how you do your things and how you live your life, doing what you do, it not being controlled by A, B, C, D or the system, and trying new things.
This is Kuria's used stash for the last 4 months, mainly codeine-based cough syrups of different brands.
Like in a day, how many of these bottles do you use?
1 to 2. 1 to 2. Not to overdo it.
1 to 2. So let's do the math. This is 100 ml divided by 5.
200 mg.
20. 200 mg. So that's 400 milligrams of codeine per day.
Apart from all these cough syrups, Kuria uses these tablet forms of codeine, the maximum 4 milligrams allowed per day dose of alprazolam, an anti-anxiety medication, 100 milligrams of diazepam, 10 times more than is required to sedate an adult. All this bought over the counter with no doctor's prescription, as should be the case. Kuria's venture into medicines was inspired by rap musicians.
By 06, 08, it was all over in rap music per se, Pink, Pop, Wheezy, you name it. And when you find it here, and you mix it up and you do the maths and the MG, and you have the same product pretty much.
The external influences that you expose your child to at an early age of development may have an effect on their behavior during adolescence. Think of the adolescent brain like a car with a fully functional accelerator, but with no brakes.
Development stages, they're very rapid during the early infancy and even the adolescent period. When you give somebody these drugs, there's impairment in what we call the cognitive functioning.
Misuse of these codeine syrups has been reported even at home.
There's the other end of children who are given by nannies and even some parents to make them sleep. It's actually a form of child abuse. There might be some impairment in their development because at that time when children are growing, it's when their brain is also developing.
Compared to other drugs like alcohol, which, leads to you, losing your mind or, just going ham, it was different. It was more peaceful.
With limited quantities, he says it doesn't limit him in any way, but the psychiatrist disagrees.
Their behavior will definitely change. They will, if it's in a student, you'll find in class they're not concentrating. Codeine makes somebody very drowsy, so you'll find that they'll probably nod off in class. Their performance will start dropping.
Previously, 8 of every 10 students from Kuria's university were likely to be using these codeine syrups. But now the number is likely to be 5 out of every 10.
Previously, it was possible with 1,000 bob, but there's been legislation that's made it practically illegal. So as an illegal product, it's no longer available.
If a young person is carrying around a bottle like this with a liquid they don't want anyone to taste, it might be the syrup, an emerging trend that has many parents worried. Dr. Mercy Korir, KTN News.
Mount Kenya is the tallest in the country at 5,199 meters above sea level and is probably the ultimate hiking and climbing destination in Kenya. One of the entry points to the mountain is through the Chogora Gate. Despite the cold experience on the mountain, there are several crater lakes, the largest being Lake Alice, located 3,400 meters on your way up, which offers scenic views for climbers. Let's now go on a journey to Lake Alice with George Maringa.
An expedition to Mount Kenya requires the right mode of transport if you want to go by foot due to the terrain within. Out of the 3 popular routes of climbing Mount Kenya, the Chogoria route, which is on the east side of the mountain, is without question the most scenic, more so due to the beautiful landscapes and exotic flora. The Chogoria Park Gate, which is about 29 kilometers from Chogoria town, gives you an opportunity to view the tallest peak, Batian, at 5,199 meters above sea level. Adjacent to it are other peaks such as Nelion, Linana, and hills such as the Moge Hills. And so the journey begins, one that will see us pass the savanna grassland, which comes with its challenges. But apart from the hustle, you're bound to come across these crystal clear streams and tributaries, also known as Tunidi, which together form the famous Nithi River. The geographical saying of the higher you go, the cooler it becomes plays out as the temperatures go lower as you go up. For today, our expedition takes us to 3,400 meters above sea level, where we find the largest crater lake on Mount Kenya, Lake Alice. She flows silently, hiding and nurturing precious life beneath.
It's the biggest lake on the mountain, and it has trout, which people come and do trout fishing here. We also take it as a second day when camping and climbing Mount Kenya Chogoria route.
Now, interestingly, there is a myth attached to this source of life, that rain falls when you throw stones inside. And so we experiment, some of us even throwing huge ones for that matter.
It's said to be the most romantic lake. There was a myth when you were growing up that Mount Ellis, when you throw a stone, it starts raining immediately.
A short while later, low dark clouds pass right in front of us, and it gets freezing cold, a sign that the rains could be upon us anytime. Whether that was coincidence or confirmation of the myth, we may never know.
Ukitembea dunia hii itakuwa ngumu kupata ziwa ingine ambao utapata iko located mahali imekuwa located.
However, should you need to retreat before climbing the mountain, these cottages, also known as bandas, are a safe abode for visitors, and you're bound to get some company during the night, as these grazers could come close to your door. But not to worry, they cannot break in. When morning comes, they walk away steadily as the majestic snow-capped Mount Kenya penetrates through the low-flying clouds. Back to the lakes, you are required to be in good health before climbing, as well as adorning yourself with appropriate warm clothing, as temperatures get lower than you may be used to. At 3,400 meters above sea level, Lake Alice is the largest crater lake in Mount Kenya that provides a scenic view to domestic and international tourists. George Maringa, KTN News in Mount Kenya through the Chogoria route in Tharaka Nithi County.
Quite interesting. All right, Weekend Express is taking its first commercial break. When we come back, you get to meet the winners of Kalasha Awards. It's a conversation you do not want to miss. Stay with us.